So I'm a service first guy. I believe that if you get the service part right, the sales are going to come. This is a two-step dance. I think most companies forget that. They just look at their sales team and go, these guys are sharks and I need them to just go on a feeding frenzy. I'm a little different. I'm like, well, the tech is equally as important in a sales process as the comfort advisor, sales guy, whatever you want to call him, project manager. And so those guys have to do the dance together. Like, this guy is equally as important as this guy, and that's what makes it happen, is these guys go in tandem, and they understand that they both have different roles, but we're looking for the same outcome. And that same outcome is making sure the client experience is high.
Welcome to the $100 Million Mindset, the source for business owners who aspire to scale, grow, and reach their full potential. Whether you're aiming for 5 million, 10 million, or 100 million. Your hosts are Alan O'Neill, the Irish plumber, who scaled Abacus Plumbing and Cooling to over 100 million, and Tank Top Todd Liles, a coach to high-performing business leaders and the owner of Service Excellence, are going to help you think bigger, act smarter, and take your business to the next level.
Welcome, everyone, to another $100 Million Mindset. Today, as always, I'm here with my friend Alan O'Neill, and we have a special guest, which is my also friend, Kevin Doran. Now, I asked Kevin to be here because I hear a lot of owners say, a lot of general managers say that they want to sell their company one day. This is very common. You probably want to sell your company one day as well. Most of them never actually get very close to that. And it's not because they don't work hard, right? It's because they don't actually build a company that is worth selling, that doesn't depend on them all the way. You got to build leadership. You got to build people in place. And that's what Kevin represents for a lot of companies. I've known Kevin for a long time, and I've watched him at my friend's company, Michael Moffitt, go in there and help Michael establish a sales system to scale. He went on, he did that at NextGen, and now he's doing it for another company. And there's a new clock that's running. There's a 3-year clock that's running in his head, which is he wants to build this company in 3 years to exit, and he wants to do it while maintaining 5-star service. Now, when he told me that made me want to bring him on the show, because I think that trying to build a company in 3 years is a pressure cooker, and trying to do that while you're really establishing real 5-star service is going to add to that. So that's why we have him here, and I want to welcome my friend Kevin. I want to welcome my partner, Alan O'Neill.
Well, today, as Todd said, we're sitting down with Kevin Doran. Kevin has lived the climb from the field into leadership. He's been the sales manager, he's been the operator, and now he's the general manager at Sano. They've got a goal that a lot of owners talk about, but most won't follow through on. Build the business fast, get it exit ready, and protect the customer experience while you do it. Not an easy task. Kevin, thanks for being here. Let's talk about what it really takes. Kevin, I like this topic because it's simple to say, but very hard to do. Mm-hmm. Take us into the room where the goal got set. What are you building at Sano over the next 3 years, and what are you refusing to sacrifice to get there?
Yeah, I appreciate you guys having me on. All great questions. And just to start it off, I mean, it's not an easy undertaking or task for many companies to do. I think the benefit that I really have is I've seen the puzzle be put together before, and so I understand where the pieces need to fit in and where you need to scale, how you keep the customer experience, and then overall when to add in the right components to your business during that scale, because you don't want to lose the process in the way. Sometimes everybody wants to grow, and that growth is painful. And when you hit a certain number, you're excited about it. But if you don't have the processes in place, you're either going to have to go backwards to put them in, or your customer experience is going to suffer. So super excited to be here today and talk about those things. So just in a nutshell, to answer Alan's question, we had a goal in mind when I started here, and we really wanted to get to 20 mil in a year. And we really wanted to exit in 3 years, outside chance of 4, at least have it built to sell in 3, and then maybe refine a couple of things on the way out. So that's really been our goal, and I think it's doable. We've done it before. I've personally been a part of growth patterns from 30 to 60 mil in a year, and then 60 to 108 million in the next year. So I know it's possible. Just want to do it with that 5-star customer experience. I don't think you have to sacrifice one for the other, and if it came down to sacrificing one for the other, I don't think we would do it.
Let's get just a few numbers established since you threw out 20 million. The listener might be wondering if that's the goal or if that's where you're at now. So where is Sano right now?
Yeah, fair question. So before I came in here, I think they were pacing about 6.5 or 7 mil. We ended up at the year, my last 3 months. So I was here for quarter 4, which is typically a tough time in Southern California HVAC. We were able to add a plumbing department and a plumbing license to our business, and we ended up right at the 10 million mark. And I really felt like we had to scale it up within that 90 days to have a shot to get to 20 million. So just showing that growth pattern that we could move the needle from pacing 6 to 6.5 to 10 million over a 3 month period really gave us some hope that we're on the right path and we can do these things.
So 20 million is 3 years from now.
20 million is the goal for 2026.
Okay, so you're wanting to double. What's the goal for, we got 2026. Are we counting that as the first full year?
We're counting that as the first full year.
So your exit that you're looking at is you're looking towards 28.
We're looking 28. I want to go 20, 40, refine everything on the way to 50, and then look for the best partner possible.
20, 40, and then 50. Now, just for some perspective, when you started with Ishmael at NextGen, what size were you guys?
We were sub 30 million. So right at the 30 mark, maybe 25, 30 million within that.
Got it. So we've got some basis established. We know what you're going for. That's really aggressive. And this is going to be the first big question. When you say sell in 3 years, this is a dual parter. What does that really mean? I think most people are sophisticated enough to know that that means that you guys want to sell the majority or all of the business. But what does it really mean for Sano? You say a partner. Is the intention that they want to roll over 30%, 40%, 12%, 50%? So what does that really mean? And here's where I'm going to get interested in your life. What does that mean for Kevin, if you can share that? Like, what does this opportunity mean for you financially? But let's start with, what does the actual sale look like? What is that going to be positioned as?
Yeah, that's fair. So first and foremost, I think it's important to find a partner that works for your business. I think that the best thing you can do is find a partner that is aligned with your goals, because you're going to have to stay in this game after exit for about 3 years, possibly 5, right? And so you don't want to be saddled with someone that you don't want to do business with every day for 3 or 5 years, because there's an earnout on that side that rarely any owners or anyone talks about, that can be very lucrative for ownership or managers or leadership or people that have an established track record here that want to be paid as well. So for us, I mean, we're planning on in 3 years having this thing built up, and by year 4 this thing would be turned over. At the same time, we'd plan on staying in and still making an impact in this business. So we're not going to ride off into the sunset after the first round. We want to stay in with a strategic partner. We want to build this thing up for round 2 and 3 and 4 and whatever we can do with it, right? But we're also very much interested in taking care of all of our people here. Like, we have a fund that is set up on the side to take care of the people that have taken care of us here, right? So a percentage of the business will actually be given to them.
So
Yeah.
3 to 5 years, you guys are willing to stay on for another 3 to 5 years. You're going for the earnout, which is smart, but and it's also important that he said you're willing to stay, because I think a lot of people that leave quickly, the likelihood of them getting the earnout can be very challenging. All right, so you didn't answer part 2. What does this mean for you, man? Are you sipping tequila on a beach in Mexico when this is done in say 6 to 5 years?
Yeah, so for me, I'm really not that guy. I very much enjoy my family. I very much enjoy my time with them. I don't look at the end game as, hey, I want to have a bunch of nice cars and I want to be able to relax on the beach in Mexico. My end goal is to take care of my kids and my wife and make sure that we don't have to work again. And when we do, it's because we choose to, if that makes sense. I don't want to be beholden to a paycheck or having to do that for the rest of my life. And so the goal really is to just be set up for success, make sure that everything is taken care of, and then just continue to work because I enjoy it and I'm passionate about it. But it doesn't become a need at that point. It becomes a want. This is what I want to do because I enjoy what I do.
I want to ask one more question before I turn it over to you, Alan. And by the way, listener, please know that before we got on the call here with Kevin, we were like, hey, Kevin, can we really push? You gave us permission, right?
Absolutely.
You did. I want to make sure it's a win for you. You've been involved with other businesses where the big win didn't occur. Not going to get into that. My question to you is, how have you protected yourself to make sure that the win actually occurs for you this time?
Yeah, that's fair. I structured it before I came in, so everything was written out and documented and taken care of from a legality standpoint before day one.
Good, man. That's good. Fences and contracts are great boundaries, and they make for really good relationships.
Absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely. Kevin, in your mind, when a buyer looks at a service company, what do they reward and what scares them off?
Yeah, I think when a private equity or strategic partner or buyer looks at a service company, I think simply they're seeing X's and O's, and I think it's our job to fill in the gaps to show them that these are people. This is what we've been able to do. Everybody has been a part of this boat. We've all rowed in the same direction, and the team is super important to us. I think the thing that scares them off mostly is probably weaker financials, things that aren't tracked. Bad reviews, customer complaints are not handled in a timely manner, and the operation isn't running on autopilot. And so all those things in a nutshell, what happens typically is the owner has staged the entire business around them, and they're kind of the only person in the kitchen that knows where the food is, right? And so you've got to constantly ask where the salt, where the sugar, and where the pepper and whatever else is, and they're the only person who knows or is capable of taking care of that. In my opinion, that's not a scalable business, and oftentimes when strategic partners come into those relationships, what they notice is the small business operator was the business, he was the driver, and when you take that driver out of the business, there is no process in place. And so you quickly have to either establish one, and oftentimes you have to take a back seat or a revenue dip or a profit dip or a net operating income dip just to get your processes in place and get back to where you go. I think PE is a lot smarter than they were in the COVID era and is realizing that they need to do a better job on the due diligence side to ensure that that doesn't happen to them as well.
Yeah.
So I'm going to bounce this off of both of you here. We're talking 10 to 20 to 40 to 50. That's fast growth. I know you have the knowledge to do it as long as the funding is there. I've seen that. This is where the challenge comes in. That's really, really fast growth. And my question is, how do you do that without service slipping? Because what I see is, like, when you're going from 10 to 20, you're at least doubling the field. You're doubling again. And there's lots of new people that are coming in that it might be hard to maintain that standard. So why do you believe you can actually grow at that pace and maintain 5-star service?
I think that's an awesome question to ask. I don't think it's feasible for most people to think they can do it. I have incredible relationships with tons of installers, technicians, managers, leaders, salespeople that really will fast track us into having a 5-star service. And the reason I say that is these are people that I've worked with intimately over the last decade plus, that I've grown to trust, that have learned the process and the expectation that I have always lived by, and the expectation that the business really needs us to do for them. So having said that, I'm not hiring guys off the street for the most part that are unknown, untested, that I haven't worked with in the past. I am typically bringing in guys that I know offer incredible service, always aiming for a 5-star experience, go above and beyond for any client, whether it's, cleaning off solar panels, dog poop in the backyard, wearing shoe covers in the home, making sure the client's comfortable, and presenting both short and long-term options and letting the client decide what's for them. But the big advantage that I have is that I have a Rolodex of teammates that are willing to go to war, that do the right thing every day. And I've learned through trial and error who those players are, and I've quickly identified them. And so for me, I'm at a strategic advantage knowing that I can bring these players in the entire time we grow, right? And that really helps.
I have a question.
Yes.
So you and I are both, our brains are going ding, 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 ding.
So Kevin, I'm in your Rolodex, right? Let's say I'm an installer, key installer,
Sure.
key service manager, whatever it might be. And I worked with you at a company that had a very highly publicized 9-figure exit, right? We all know what we're talking about here. So if I'm that guy and I know I'm important to you and I can help move the needle at Sano, when you call me, I'm saying, okay, Kevin, I want to talk about the radio station, WIAFME. Like, what's in it for me, right? How are you handling that? Because the last exit was so much in the public eye in terms of the amount of money that changed hands. Like, most humans that are anyway smart are going to say, okay, Kevin, well, like, I'm perfectly willing to go on this journey for you, but like, I need a piece of the action. How are you handling that?
Yeah, that's a fair question. And so it depends on what your role is going to be for us. I mean, not everybody's going to be to get a piece of the pie, nor am I going to tell everybody that they're going to. But the one thing I have always offered my teammates and the people that I've had the opportunity to work with in the past is you're going to have a manager like the one I always wanted when I was in the field that I never had. You're going to have someone who's available, who cares about you personally, cares about you professionally, who wants to make sure that you're hitting your metrics and goals, that wants to make sure you're taking care of your family day in and day out, and you will be pushed to do your best to do that, right? And it won't just be a public thing where we're looking at KRAs or KPIs and we're judging and evaluating people simply on that. It's also a private thing. I want to make sure people are taken care of, they have time with their families, that their taxes are in order, that if they're buying a house, they're getting a decent interest rate. And honestly, if you're a decent human being, and you care about these people not only from a work standpoint but a personal standpoint, and remember, everyone who's an elite player in this industry can smell BS. And so if you're not genuine with what you do, I wouldn't expect any of these people to follow along for the journey or have come with me from the past at all. But the reality is I'm not here to give up a piece of the pie or any equity to someone who's going to come in and help us win, right? Unless you're a strategic player or, on the executive leadership level as we build. But the thing that I can offer is I will certainly take care of your family. I always have. I've always been fair. And I'm the one guy that will always answer your call and take care of you, whether you're in a pinch or you need some help at home, right? And so if you really take care of these people and you really believe in those things and they believe that you will do that for them because your track record says that you have, I think that you have an easier path to doing that for sure. It doesn't mean that I'm going to pay people egregious or ridiculous amounts. I think we all set the standard for that in the 2020 COVID type era, right? Of just, everybody was doing sign-ons and special deals. I'm going to do this whole thing without special deals and sign-ons. I don't think that we need to muddy the water with that. And what we can offer you is an incredible opportunity to get back together with someone that I hope you've trusted in the past that has earned the right to take care of your family and would like that opportunity again.
But what I wrote down here, what he said, and I didn't know he was going to say this, and we've talked a lot. I didn't know that he was going to say that. Sounds like one of Kevin's superpowers is to be a great recruiter. And then your question is like, that's a fantastic question, Alan. It almost reminds me of what's going on in college football right now, where there's so much money to be made, and the NIL deals and the negotiators, and it's just wild. Where Kevin is over here going, hey, you're going to make a lot of money, but you're not necessarily going to get a piece of the exit, and you're going to get a coach you want to work for, and it is interesting to sit back and just to see what will happen. So that was a great question. Thank you for your answer. Maybe you and I are to get together and talk about some of these recruiting methods as a future show, or maybe even a class, because I'd like to know. But when he said that, I found myself going, if you can deliver on that, how attractive is that skill set to anybody? But also at the same time, I'm over here going, if I'm Sano, I'm going, okay, you better stay, because don't leave and then recruit all these people.
Right.
But you're staying for many years, so I'm going to give it back to you, Alan.
So, Kevin, what's the first compromise that usually happens when growth starts, in your opinion?
Typically what happens is when you're hitting high growth levels, you're ordering trucks and you're onboarding people faster than you can get them trained in the field, and so service slips, right? I've seen it in the past. You've got faces that you don't recognize and 30 new employees on a Monday, and it's a push for growth, and by Friday you've got more client complaints than you've ever had. And so for me personally, I think the first thing that slips in this thing is the ability to train these people up to carry on the torch of understanding what got us here and what they need to do to execute in the future to keep that 5-star experience. I think that's where most companies miss the mark. They get them on the road really fast. It's limited training. There's so many of them. Managers are scattered out and they've just never dealt with that type of brush fire before. And so they don't know how to put it out and it just continues to go. And then the owner's mantra changes from, hey, I want to have a great experience for every client. But I also want to grow to, hey, I'm going to have to sacrifice a little bit here because I just want to make money. And that's got to be the most important thing now.
Is that the first lie they tell themselves?
I think they pit themselves into a corner where you have a cash flow crisis and it's either we're going to keep selling and earning money or we're going to turn back and we're going to be in a reactive mode that we may not be able to continue on. I think that's where processes come into place that can really help businesses scale quickly. But if you don't have them there, then one thing slips, another thing slips. Pretty soon you're doing a spread offense. You usually have someone who's high up on the leadership level that just can't handle that type of volatile rapid growth, and so they go, hey man, I gotta do what I've got to do to get through my day, right? And that's when everything kind of slips from there.
Can I ask a question real quick?
Sure.
One thing that crosses my mind here is it takes a lot of cash to grow from 20 to 50 to 100 in 3 or 4 years. Like a lot of cash. Sure. Just the marketing expense alone is it's very, very significant. So is number one, is the cash available? Number two, well, let's just start with, is the cash available?
Yes, so the cash is available. That's one thing that I was super quick to check and look at and, sign everything I needed to check those things out. Debt-free business, tons of cash in the bank, really hadn't made any mistakes, and things looked totally doable on that aspect to me. For sure. And I learned a lot of that in the past, right? Because you've got a guy who says, hey, I want to double and I want to triple and I want to quadruple and I'm at 70 mil. Can you get me to 140? And in the past, I would have said, yeah, obviously we can do that. Let's see what happens. But what you realize is, well, are you willing to suffer? Are you willing to lose in the short term to win in the long term? Are you willing to invest in this? Are you willing to put money out like it's almost a blackjack hand just to see if you can get it back? Like you have to be willing to take risks in order to do that. And as much as most people think they're willing to take that risk, most people are not, because they view this money as not a separated bank account from business to personal, but as one giant piggy bank for themselves. And I've always tried to tell owners, like, hey, you've got your separate finances, you have the business finances, right? And the business finances, you really need to look at like monopoly money, right? And the reason I say that is it's not real until it's real, okay? Until we're taking it out, until we're using it, until it's sold, until whatever. It's all monopoly money. Now, you don't want to run out of monopoly money. That's a bad thing. But you can't get houses and then hotels on it without buying the houses and hotels. And so you're going to need some cash reserves to do that as well. And you also have to take the risk of going, hey, I'm going to go down a little bit in my cash flow, but there is a goal in mind, and we're going to achieve those goals. But I also think it's important to grow and maintain profitability. I don't think you should just grow blindly and think that, at some point in time it's going to come back to you. It may never, right? Like you have to grow in a profitable manner that's structured with true processes, not just guesswork and, hey, if we do this and we grow the revenue, we might make more money on the bottom line, but let's, just keep the nominal tracking of everything that we currently do. I don't think that's a player that would work out, but if it's strategic, absolutely.
Yeah. I think you have to speculate to accumulate, Kevin, right? Yeah, you have to be willing to put it out there.
Fully agree with that.
Yeah.
Alan, I wrote down cash flow crisis, and you asked the question that I was thinking, because it is true. It's like if you have the cash, and I think there's been plenty of examples of businesses that have exited big, that have grown fast, and the owner may make a star of themselves, but they never stop and go, oh, but also we had this much invested in us.
Right.
And it's like, yeah, you can make a lot of mistakes with two things: a lot of cash and a lot of revenue. If you're making sales and you have cash, then a lot of you can look like a superstar, but it's like at the end of the day, how much have you kept?
Yeah.
So it's a good question.
So if a buyer called 10 customers of Sano today, what would they hear, Kevin?
We have a 5-star rating on every platform. We've got over 1,100 reviews at this point on most platforms. On Google, we're a perfect 5-star with over 850 reviews at this point. Yelp is a 4.9 out of 5. We're working hard to get that up to 5 again. But truly, like, if you were to call any one of our customers, they're going to be satisfied, happy, and felt taken care of. We literally live by that service mantra that we're going to take care of everybody. We do the happy calls at the end, just, pretty standard in our industry at this point. But I personally will get an email, a text, a message, a note put on my desk of any client experience that was not a 10 out of 10. Even if they're like, hey, everything was great, we love the technicians, we noticed the pricing was a little high, that was really it, they're still going to get a phone call from me. And that won't change whether we're 10, 20, or 50 million. I think you have to stay on the pulse with that. I think you have to stay in communication with your clients. I think you have to get the information that you need from these people to pivot and adjust in real time and make sure that everybody's experience is a positive one. So overall, I think you'd get a 10 out of 10 from Sano on any client that you called.
So let's talk about that 5-star service, and we've challenged you, and that's great. Now let's dip into some of the action items here. So I want you to start by giving me your definition of a 5-star service call, and to be very specific, I want you to imagine it's late. It's 8:30, it's 9:30 at night, and the technician's been on his first call since 7 a.m. What are you saying to that technician? How do you execute that call?
So a couple things. I don't set up calls to be run that late. I do not think you get the same level of customer experience with a tech in the field for 15 hours a day. There's just no way, right? So if I've got a guy who's running his first call between 8 and 9, there's no way I'm scheduling a 7 o'clock call for him at night. There's no way. The client experience has to dip at some point, right? I can't run a guy 12 to 15 hours a day and think that his attitude is going to be phenomenal, right? He's got to spend time with his family. He's got to go home. You have to recharge. All those things are true for me. And so getting back to what the true 5-star experience is it starts on the phone. It's the first interaction that you're going to have with our business. It has to be a positive experience. It has to be welcoming and warm, right? I'm not saying we have to write a script here, but we do have scripts, but I'm not saying we're writing a script today on the podcast. But what I will say is it has to be welcoming and warm. It has to be friendly, and you have to be accommodating. That is the first line that Sano is going to have, is us answering the phone in that first 30 seconds. That interaction should be positive, welcoming, warm, and friendly. From there, obviously, we're dispatch the tech out. The tech's going to make contact with the client, let him know he's on his way. We obviously have a picture that goes out along with a biography of the technician, just to make sure they know exactly who's showing up, what they look like, right? It's always nice to know who someone looks like before they knock on your door. I've always appreciated that experience when companies have done that in the past. And then from the door knock all the way throughout the experience, how you would earn that 5-star experience is you've got to do everything right. You've got to do the little things. Even if someone doesn't want to buy something from you, your emotions can't change. The experience can't change. The tune-up, the maintenance, the repair cannot change. It has to be as clean, as perfect, and as humbling as it would be if they were going to spend $30,000, $40,000, or $50,000. We've got to finish the job. We've got to clean the unit. We've got to take apart the components. We have to make sure that we did a great job for these people at every single turn. And whether they're spending money with us or not, the experience and the process have to be the same. Because that client may tell 10 people, even if they don't use us, that these were great guys, right? They did a great job here. We didn't do anything today. They just did a normal tune-up for, $80, $70, $60, whatever people are charging out there. But the experience can't change for the client because, again, people talk to people. And if their experience is positive with us, even if they didn't spend money, the next 10 people they tell, 5 of them could, right? And so we have to maintain that standard no matter what. And a big part of our standard here is the level of communication between the technicians, the sales guys, the installers, the office, and the client. And those are the important things to maintain a 5-star experience. got to be clean.
Kevin, how many employees do you have right now?
Currently, we are over 40.
40. Okay. Yeah. So if I rode along with your best tech, Kevin, what would I see that tells me you're serious about 5-star service?
Absolutely. I would welcome you guys to ride along with any one of our techs. It's tough to define a best tech. Most people's best tech, they're going to say, is their revenue producer, right? But my best tech is a revenue producer. My next best tech is a review king. My next best tech is a guy who sells maintenance agreements and memberships at a 90% level. But the experience would be positive. These guys love where they work, and I think the culture is a huge part of that. And if they believe in what they do and they know the company supports them and has their back and will be there for them, I think that message passes through to your clients. We don't have any cancerous people in here. We don't have any unhappy people in here, and we don't have any rip-off artists in here. And so my goal is always to be super thorough, super clean, have a great experience for the client, and I won't let cancer in the building. So even if you're a $7, $8, $10 million revenue producer, but you're cancerous, I'll just do without the revenue. Like we'll get it some other way. It's okay, but you can't sacrifice that.
Do you know the cancer today because of you just working in the area? You talked about, and here's the reason why I'm asking that. You talk about your deep relationships. And a lot of time, people let cancer in because they don't know their cancer. Do you just know who the cancer is now, or do you have a way of testing if they're cancer?
Yeah, so I mean, I'm probably like the least cocky person but like if it has to do with sales or service in Southern California HVAC, all roads run through me. And so I know all these service technicians. I know all these HVAC comfort advisors. And my process with them is, again, I want no cancerous people in here. And so I'm choosing, for the most part, to hire, onboard, and adopt in the people that I've worked with in the past that have been low drama, great producers, great client experience guys, highly motivated, mostly family guys who have things to take care of within their lives and obligations that need to be met. And those are the people that I choose to work with. The guys who are going to complain a lot, seem to have financial trouble for the most part, reoccurring, and call off for days and always make excuses, are not guys that I would put in my bullpen or out in the field to play the game.
Thank you.
Great. So, Kevin, tell me a real story when you chose service over short-term revenue.
Yeah, we had a client a few weeks ago that we did a tune-up and maintenance for, and client believed that there may have been a gas leak there. And so we went out and tested the complete system. It was installed by another provider, right? Client wasn't aware of that because they just moved into the home about a year ago, but it was installed pretty recently by another provider, maybe 2 or 3 year old install. So new unit, should be working well. There was a gas leak on it, and so we just told her there's a gas leak on the line feeding the furnace, and that's something that needs to be taken care of. But this thing is probably under warranty. There's a bunch of stickers all over it. It's from X, Y, and Z company, and so you may want to give them the opportunity to tighten this thing up or replace it or whatever it needs to be done on the unit in order for you not to have that gas leak and it to work efficiently. Now, we could have taken the other approach, right? We could have said, hey, it's a 3-year-old unit. They have a gas leak. This is a new person into this home. They probably have no idea how their HVAC system is or what age it is or who the warranty's with or whatever. They called us. And so we can go right into options, right? As far as what we need to do to repair this, blah, 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 blah. Talk about some efficiency upgrades that have happened in the last 3 years and try to parlay it into whatever you want. But at the end of the day, the thing's under warranty. It's a new unit. This is a newer homeowner, right? They're younger, so it's probably their first home they've bought. And they're scared, right? And so a lot of HVAC technicians and sales guys look at that and go, great, now we have some urgency. Well, it's someone else's warranty to take care of. Let's give them the first opportunity to do that. Now, if they do a bad job or something happens, this client is going to love us for life. They're going to call us back and we'll take care of everything that's needed. But, you can chase that short-term revenue there, but it's just not the right thing, right? That company ended up coming in there and fixing it for free, and it was under warranty, and the lady was super happy, and that's really all we could ask.
Okay, so Kevin, now what we're going to do is we're going to talk about your operating system, one that protects service. So I want you to think about pulling out the playbooks. You're going to share with our audience your standards, how you train, how you do quality control, how you track your scoreboard. And so for my first question, it's about when sales start outrunning ops. And this isn't the thing that happens in all companies, but in companies that either A, know how to market really well and know how to sell really well, there's always a point in time when their sales can outpace their ability to actually serve the client. It's like they've gotten too big for their pants. So how do you stop sales from outrunning operations? What are the guardrails that you have in place to where you go, oh, huh. Well, right now, I suppose we will slow sales down to make sure operations can handle it, to make sure we can install it, make sure we can service them. So how do you do that?
Yeah, that's a fair question. So in my past, my goal was always to outperform the operational capacity and stress that department out, so that they'd have to figure out their role and mine was secure. But over the years, that's changed a little bit. Like you don't want to do more than the capacity of the business can handle within a short period of time. So for us, it's really just staying keyed in and looped in. I think a huge part of it is the ability to recruit the right people in here. And so like I have 5 install crews that stay busy 5 to 6 days a week. Now a crew for me is 2 people. So we've got 10 installers running 5 to 6 days a week, depending on demand. I do have a rotating Saturday install schedule, so my installers don't get burned out. We're not in the summer, but we're sure running like it right now as far as our growth pattern. But once that, here's how I do it. So once that install is met capacity and I feel like these guys they're making enough money, they're doing a great job, but we really need another crew, I'm going to get another crew in here tomorrow. Like I'm just going to be fully transparent about it. And they're going to be a great crew, right? Like I'd put the 5 crews that we have up here in HVAC against any crews in America. I mean, these guys are doing our work. I check the pictures at night and I'm just like, I'm shocked these guys do this level of install every single time, bar none. And so for me, the safeguards I have in here is you have to be recruiting. Todd taught me that probably over a decade ago, that I needed to spend like 25 to 30% of my day recruiting, or at least being active with people that I'm interested in potentially hiring down the line, or figuring out what the needs for the business are. So I stay really active in recruiting. I interviewed 4 people yesterday. The other safeguard is we meet a few times a week here in the shop. We've got separate install meetings, we've got everybody meetings, and then I've got sales and service meetings. I don't drag these guys in to be abusive or make them come in 5 days a week, because I think everybody gets tired of coming into an office 5 days a week for the same monotonous, ritualistic meeting that typically happens. So really just keeping my finger on the pulse with these guys, being able to grow at a clip that matches our sales, onboard installers, technicians, and be able to take the care of the clients from a call standpoint. I'm just building it out as it comes in, because I have the resources and the connections. I'll be super transparent. If I wasn't able to get everyone that I wanted whenever I wanted them because of my relationship with them, I think this role would be tough. I think this mountain to climb would be a hard one. But for me, I'm super blessed and fortunate that I have an army of loyal soldiers that continually wants to go to war with me because I've done something right in the past. And sometimes I'm not even sure what that is, but I keep answering their calls and showing up for them, and they keep doing the same for me.
Before Alan asks you a question, I'm going to ask Alan a question. Alan, I'm asking as a representative potentially of Wrench Group.
Mm-hmm.
If we had interviewed Kevin together, 4 years ago, do you think that his answers and you sitting on this would have made you want to try to recruit him to a wrench company even more?
I'm sitting here thinking, how come I haven't heard him in the past? Yeah.
Right.
No, I mean, people like Kevin are rare.
Right.
Very, very rare. The general manager and up in an organization is extremely hard to fill. And I do think that's one thing that private equity groups in general are struggling with right now, is as the original owners start to retire or phase out or call in rich, just don't want to work anymore. Who's taking the place, right? So that's one thing I always took really serious in my business, is that I know I wanted to slow down one day. So I made it like ultra important to get the next guy ready, and which is Tony, and he's done really, really well. So I think, yeah, people like Kevin, super rare, super rare, especially with the grit and the tenacity and the just the way he carries himself is not that common in our industry. Yeah.
All right, so let's go back to training because you said something before we cut away from the censored thing, which is you don't demand that they come in every single day, and there's so many different perspectives on training. But then at the same token, you said the biggest challenge can be new people not getting trained fast enough. So tell us about your training rhythm. What's working for you? How do you know when to change it up?
Yeah, fair question. So those are two different things. Like for my veterans that have been here and understand the process and that are doing super well, I don't need those guys in every day. I'd prefer if they come in at some point in time organically, right? It just means they love the shop and where they work. And, if they don't have anything going on, they're going to eat their lunch here or stop by or, just shoot the crud in a chair and kind of tell you how the rest of their life is going. It's a good opportunity to catch up. But for new people you're onboarding, you have to have safeguards in place. And so for me, those guys are going to ride along with trusted technicians, advisors, installers, and whatever. And those guys are going to need to sign off on that these guys are ready. I believe in them, and I think they can do it. And then we're going to bring them back in here and make sure they understand everything. And then we're going to tell them you probably don't understand everything because no one ever does when they go out in the field. And so here's what I want to say. Make sure that you're over communicating with myself and anyone else in the office because we want to help you out. We want to help you build options. We want to help you out with the financing. We want to help you on anything that you could possibly have a question on. Whether you're driving and you don't know your gas pin for the gas station or whether it's creating options within Service Titan, let us be a part of that for a good while until you kind of take that baton and you're naturally doing it all by yourself and you're very comfortable. It's okay to be new. It's just not okay to not do the right job.
What is your quality control process and how do you catch issues?
It's an awesome thing. So on the install side, super easy. My installers are phenomenal. They don't miss, but everybody's human and they make mistakes. So I have a QC guy that's an absolute sharpshooter and a pro. He goes out to every install the very next day and checks every install out personally to make sure it was exactly the way we wanted it to go. On the repair sides, they have to, and on install side as well, they're required to upload, X amount of pictures. Our pictures before they close out are reviewed by one of my guys in the office. I also look over those at night just to make sure everybody's in line with what we needed to do for the day. But I'd be the last kind of catch-all on that. We've got a guy named Justin here who looks at those pictures throughout the day and makes sure they match up to what we're supposed to do and what's supposed to happen at that home. I also keep a service manager, but I keep him in the field. I really don't have a need right now for a service manager in the office, just staring at the same board other people are. And so I keep him active in the field. He's had some great training in his life. He's a well-respected guy, great human being, really a service-first guy. And so he's not going to mix in with the politics of selling or whatever else. He's just going to make sure the right job is done.
What do you track weekly that tells you if service is slipping, Kevin?
Daily, but yeah, I use a old school tech tracker. It gets sent to my email. I prefer to print it out. I'm a visual guy that likes to have the paper. So I track it daily. It's got everything. It's conversion rates. It's all the normal KRAs or KPIs that anybody would expect, membership, blah, blah, blah. But there's more in between there than most people can read. And if you don't have a pulse on your team, you're going to simply look at numbers and you're going to judge based on that. I look at it differently. Not everybody's a rock star. Not everybody I need to be a rock star, high producer, or performer. Some of my guys, I just need them to do the best job and know that there's really no money in this for them, right? There's money in it for their bank account. There's money in it for their Friday paycheck. But the type of calls they're going to run, we're not looking to scorch the earth or do anything. We're just looking to make a friend do a great job and hopefully get a club member and a 5-star review from them, right? And so everybody plays a different role. I like to look at it like the old school Chicago Bulls, right? I don't need 5 Jordans. I just need 1 Jordan. But I do need a Pippen. I do need a Kukoc. We do need a Luke Longley. We're going to need a Rodman. You got to put a team together, right? And I think too many people get into the habit where they're like, I just want all high-level revenue producers. And I'm like, well, you can't just have an entire room full of just high-level revenue producers. And not everybody's capable of being a high-level revenue producer. But there's still a wheel on the car. And I still need all 4 wheels on the car to get down the road. So just because they're not making as big of as an impact in the revenue doesn't mean that they're not making as big of an impact in the business, right? And so there's much more to the numbers than people see just on these managed KPIs or KRAs. Like there really is. And I think a lot of owners and people get really stuck on just KPIs and KRAs, but you have to categorically look at it differently. Maybe I have a guy who's not a real revenue producer, but he's a review machine. Like we have to respect that in the same level as a guy who can produce revenue but gets less 5-star reviews, still gets 5-star reviews, doesn't get 1-star reviews, but just isn't in the habit of automatically getting them at every call. Well, if I've got a guy who's, not as great at pitching options or anything else, but the clients love him and he's always getting 5-star reviews, I have to value those people at the same level. Like they're both doing a great job. They're just doing it in different aspects.
Yeah. So those things that you just covered, do y'all cover those things in leadership meetings, or are your leadership meetings a little bit different? Like, what are y'all talking about in your leadership meetings?
I keep them pretty simple. I just want everybody to know, like, here's the goal, here's what we need to do, here's how we get there, here's the standard, here's the expectation. But like in between those nuts and bolts, I want people here to feel empowered to make good decisions naturally, and when they're not sure about something, to obviously ask one of us that may have walked through that path already.
Well, that sounds like a good setup to talk about leadership, Alan. So why don't we move into the leadership section?
Sure, sure. So, question, Kevin, what standards are you protecting, especially when it would be easier to let it slide?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I'm a service first guy. I believe that if you get the service part right, the sales are going to come. This is a two-step dance. I think most companies forget that. They just look at their sales team and go, these guys are sharks and I need them to just go on a feeding frenzy. I'm a little different. I'm like, well, the tech is equally as important in a sales process as the comfort advisor, sales guy, whatever you want to call him, project manager. And so those guys have to do the dance together. Like this guy is equally as important as this guy, and that's what makes it happen. Is these guys go in tandem, and they understand that they both have different roles, but we're looking for the same outcome, and that same outcome is making sure the client experience is high. I think if you do a good enough job on the service side, you go over safety concerns if they exist, right? You get really honest with people and you're not afraid to say hard things. I think that you'll be relatively well accepted with most clients. I'm not saying everybody's going to choose us, but I'm going to say we're going to have honest, real conversations with people, even if they're tough, but it's all going to come from the service base, right? Like the service always kicks off the sale to me. It's not the other way where I'm just sending these guys in with daggers and sharpshooters and just trying to get a deal going. Like it all starts from the technician. It all starts on the service side. And so if we do a bad job on the service, there's no way we're going to get like our unit replacement today, tomorrow, next week, a year from now, 3 years from now, or whatever else. And so for me, the service always sets up the expectation for the rest of the business and how we're going to operate.
Let's talk a little bit about accountability. I know there's lots of different leaders out there, but some of the leaders that I've seen sort of go into their bunker, right? It's time to hold someone accountable. They disappear. Some of the other leaders don't go into their bunker. They come out of it and they start setting off nuclear bombs. They scream, they holler. I've literally known of a leader to throw a fan motor at a technician's head, like not exaggerating. So when things are getting a little chaotic and accountability may be slipping a little bit, how do you personally reinforce the standards without either going into your bunker or just totally going nuclear? What do you do?
Simple. How would you respond to your kids if you were having a bad day? Would you let your emotions come out when you're being a parent to them at home? Like never, right? Like that's not an option. Like you can't wear your heart on your sleeve as a parent. And so I manage the same way.
My
Like
family's Italian, Kevin.
Well, my wife's Italian, so I mean, we we might have that in common. No, but I'm being super transparent. Like when we're dealing with the kids or we're dealing with employees, I look at it the same way. Like they need an even keeled person that always shows up at the same person day in and day out. If you want people to truly trust you in this industry and work with you in the future, you have to show up as the same person every day, even if you're getting your teeth kicked in. You have to. It's the same way you have to show up for your children. They can't know that you got your teeth kicked in at work, or mom and dad had a bad day, or had an argument, or a discussion about whatever. Like there's no business in that for raising kids. You have to show up as your genuine self every day. And so at work, You have to show up as your genuine self every single day. Like good news, bad news, any news, it's the same news to me. We're going to get through it. So anyways, how you doing today, Christian? How's life, right? You have to respond the same way every day. And so for me, I'm always that buffer, right? I'm always that buffer between the nuclear, right? Or the going away and the rest of the work family that's here. Like that all should be buffered through me. And so I always like to say, okay, you've got ownership or leadership or whatever. We're all going to have those internal thoughts. Sometimes those internal thoughts could become external thoughts, right? But let me be that barrier, that shield. You want to freak out and go nuts? Freak out and go nuts on me, right? That way the rest of the team is excluded from it, and we run this thing as business as usual, knowing that we have things that we need to work out and solve. No big deal. But it's the same way I do with my wife, right? Like, we're not going to argue in front of the kids. If we need to argue, like, wait till they go to bed, yell at me, or I'll tell you what I think or whatever. And then the next morning we'll carry on as normal people, right? Like, that's how it should be done. I don't think that you should just dump or vent that, all over your family and children. And then, of course, I compare it to the same as employees, is where you're dumping in front of all your employees. I think that's a great way to lose faith of your team. I think it's a great way to kill culture. And I think it's a great way to get people to search for other jobs.
So, Kevin, how do you keep great people while you're pushing growth? What does the team need from leadership, in your opinion?
I think they need availability. I think they need respect, right? And I think they need to know the path moving forward of where we're all going together. I think too many people do not share their goals with the company or what they're looking to accomplish. And so it all gets lost in translation and people get left wondering. And I think people leave for two reasons. They're undervalued. They're underpaid or they're underappreciated, right? And so if one of those things holds true for someone, I think they're going to leave, right? Like if someone feels underpaid, they're going to look elsewhere. If they feel undervalued, they're probably going to look elsewhere. So if we solve those two things for them day in and day out, I feel like you've got the right path moving forward, especially if you explain the dream and you put them into how they fit into that dream. Again, it's not all from an equity-backed standpoint in the end. It's, hey, your best year was $3.5 million in sales or $5 or whatever it is. What is your goal? How can I help you accomplish that? What are you looking to do? How much money did you make last year? How much did you save? What kind of investments do you have going on? Did you file all your taxes correctly last year? Are you looking to invest in real estate? Do you have it in the market? Are you playing it safe guy? I want to know everything about everyone possible, right? And that's really how you're going to keep these guys rolling, is you have to be involved in their personal lives. It can't just be a business transaction. When it's a business transaction, don't be offended when people make a business transaction and go somewhere else. When it's personal, they'll stay with you and follow you to the end.
All right. It is time to move into the section of the podcast where we give you a couple of Monday morning moves. These are the things that you're going to implement when you listen to this podcast and it's the following Monday. And Alan's going to kick this off for us.
Move number 1, define the standard. Write the 5-star standard in one sentence. What is it so the team can't misinterpret it? What should happen in the first 5 minutes, first hour, and first day after a call comes in? So write your 5-star standard in one sentence, list the 5 behaviors that must happen on every call, and train it weekly until it's boring.
Move number 2 is build your scoreboard. And on your scoreboard, to get started, pick 3 service KPIs, key numbers, whether that's callbacks, reviews, trends, complaint categories, and track them. Review them weekly with leadership and fix one leak before you chase more volume.
So move number 3, where do companies break trust when they grow fast, and how do you prevent that? So what's the simplest Q&A habit that keeps installs consistent? So your actions are: audit your last 20 jobs for patterns, callbacks, complaints, delays. Choose one standard to raise and enforce it this week. And document the process so it doesn't depend on one person. So Kevin, one thing owners should stop doing immediately.
I would stop taking out their frustrations on the team.
All right. One thing they should start doing this week.
Training, implementing, paying attention to your people, and truly falling in love with them.
And one metric that tells the truth no matter what.
Numbers don't lie.
Kevin, my turn. What leadership habit matters the most when you're growing fast?
Compassion.
What mistakes do you still see at 3 and 10 million that kill service?
Operational inefficiencies.
And what does we don't chase cheap look like in real life?
Yeah, never wanted to be the cheapest guy. Don't need to be the most expensive either, but you got to know your numbers and you need to be price safe where you need to be. If you're willing to go all in and you're willing to be that company that can provide true 5-star service, you shouldn't be shying away from being a more expensive company that can provide and pay for your bills.
All right, Kevin, my friend, thank you for coming in. You were willing to let us push and ask some tough questions, and you've got big dreams. And at the end of this episode with you, I'm actually walking away from it going, yeah, he'll do it. Sometimes I walk away from episodes going, I'm not sure if their dreams are going to work out, but I believe you'll do it. Alan, what do you think?
No, absolutely. I said it earlier that people like Kevin are rare in this industry. People that are willing to put the kind of effort in to get the end result that you're looking for. So many people want the quick win, and so I think, Kevin, you're doing all the right things. I'm like Todd. I'm in your corner. I can't wait to cheer you on and see the exit when it happens. And I'll be going, I talked to that guy 3 years ago and he told me he was going to do this. So.
All right. So thanks, Kevin. We appreciate you being here, buddy.
Thanks, Kevin.
I appreciate you guys. Thanks so much. You guys are a wealth of knowledge as always.
All right. So, Alan, we're closing up the show. One of the things that he had said was I taught him about recruiting, 20 years ago or 10 years ago, whatever he said. And I found myself going, wow, he really did something we talked about. I wish I did more of it too.
Yeah, recruiting's so hard. It's, one thing I have learned about recruiting is, activity brings results. Mm-hmm. So you have to do it. When you told Kevin all those years ago, spend X amount of time recruiting per day, that's exactly what needs to happen, in my opinion. The more you do it, the more success you're going to have.
Yeah, I agree. Even though I've known Kevin for all this time, the thing that I walked away from this being most impressed was when he said, I've got the relationships, and the reason why it's not going to be a bottleneck for us is I can just plug them and play them. And I'm going, you can tell he's telling the truth. I think that is an extraordinarily rare thing. And I almost don't know if he even realizes how valuable that is. I got to think that could leverage his career until he wanted to stop working. Even though he's saying, hey, 5 to 10 years and I'm done, I think he could rinse and repeat this again a second time easily.
Well, one thing I've learned from technicians over the years, Todd, is there's nothing they respect more than you respecting them, mm-hmm. and being available when they make that call. And, one of the hardest things for me as I grew Abacus was when I had to go from taking every call from the techs to delegating that to a service manager. And I was one step removed because they love access to the guy. Like, they like access to the guy. And so Kevin making himself so available for his people is such a key move, and it pays huge dividends. And even as Kevin has transitioned from company to company to company, those people are searching him out to go work for him. It's a sign of a great leader.
Hey, thanks so much for watching the show this week. Head over to toddliles.com/mindset to get the show notes. Please make sure to like, subscribe, and follow so you never miss a new episode of the show. And if you enjoyed this episode, then share it. It really helps us get the word out. You've been watching the $100 Million Mindset with Alan O'Neill and Tank Top Todd Liles.